Welcome to Disclosure with your host, Magnar Subrosa.
It is time once again to unfold the pages hidden from us all. For too long, as you've watched Disclosure, you've seen us expose important secrets held from us about our distant past, like the giant bodies found and hidden by the Smithsonian. You've witnessed the arrest of the high-level officials and barons of business for their role in the trafficking of our children. We uncovered the shocking truth about the Illuminati using chemtrails to terraform our planet, and so much more has been disclosed. This time, our team is going to blow the lid off the powerful who have forced the world into both petrochemical and green energy slavery for ages. There is no need to fear climate change. The secret of zero-point energy, free energy, has been discovered but locked away, under the force of threats and death by shadow governments. Several months ago we received documents from a person who was frightened they might be killed for exposing what was developed decades ago by a brilliant physicist and mechanical engineer, Dr. Simon Adelson from Great Britain. We were only given snippets of videos from Adelson that were left behind before his disappearance under questionable circumstances while traveling to Jakarta. A close ally was instructed that if he were to vanish, there would be a time for revealing information about his work. Now is the time for that disclosure. Dr. Adelson was brilliant, holding numerous patents in Europe, Canada, and the United States. Unfortunately, some of his work at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory in California was classified as top secret under the Obama administration. It is no longer available for viewing, even with a FOIA request, just as Tesla's work was stolen and hidden by the FBI. Not only that, but we can no longer find any records of Dr. Adelson ever existing. Birth records, degrees, memberships, university positions, and even public articles and papers have all been wiped from records worldwide. It is the ultimate way to destroy someone's existence, including the sudden elimination of his closest relatives, colleagues, and friends, as though a locust cloud has swept away his memory. The whistleblower worked in a restaurant in a rural community in Idaho. It was near a hidden desolate mountainous area where Dr. Adelson led a secret laboratory, paid for by a billionaire adventurer. For some reason, Dr. Adelson confided in the dishwasher and told him about the importance of his work in zero-point energy. Eventually, Adelson convinced the young man to get a passport and dual citizenship in Australia, since his father was originally an Aussie. Adelson also provided specific information that the young man should someday release if something bad happened at the lab. A large sum of money was quietly deposited offshore for the youth's use in case of disaster and an investigation. Adelson had advised that he hide in Siberia until the time was right, if it ever came to that. A year later, Boise News reported that a large explosion had occurred at a secluded area in the hills of the Sawtooth National Forest, but that it was caused by a military plane crash on maneuvers, with no survivors. The area was cordoned off and sealed permanently from the public. Investigators and military personnel began interrogating members of the youth's small town. He gathered up Adelson's notes and videotapes. He left town at night by hopping on a coal train headed for a power plant further south at Twin Falls. Eventually, he made his way to New York, flew to Moscow on his Australian passport, and used the Siberian Railroad to hide away for decades, using the funds stored in the Cayman Islands to survive carefully and quietly. His Australian passport brought him safely here, to our studios, before he escaped again to the cold north. He wanted to remain anonymous, as there were even people in Putin's government who would have killed to keep Adelson's research secret. The power of the oil oligarchs is worldwide. To honor his wishes, our staff have edited, as best we could, the complicated scientific journals he provided. We've also taken clips from the videotape to share with our audience, although there was considerable damage to both the paper records and the tapes through poor mishandling by Adelson's protege as he fled from authorities. I offer to you now the voice and clips of Dr. Adelson explaining his astounding discoveries. It is now up to you, the viewer, to decide what should be done to honor this work and break the shackles of the energy merchants who have hidden in the dark corridors of power.
I've spent most of my life searching for the truth about zero-point energy. My work has borne fruit, but it has no value if not shared with the world. I was thrilled in the 1990s when a billionaire investor sought out my work and helped establish an amazing laboratory in the Sawtooth National Forest in Idaho. He had substantial ties with the government, which I never asked about at the time. He agreed that the massively expensive efforts to find sources for zero-point energy at the CERN were bound to fail. Our team comprised the best minds available in high-energy physics, theoretical physics, engineering, and material science. My initial direction was to use the formulas and ideas about zero-point energy already accepted as the basis for experimentation. However, after diligent collaboration with my mathematical geniuses, we developed a new direction with a formula that promised an exciting breakthrough. We reconstructed the entire journey after carefully considering the publications of Vishveshwara regarding the scattering of gravitational radiation and Duane's papers on transferring quanta radiation. Ehrenfest's essential findings on the quantum theory of Fraunhofer diffraction were the key that opened the door. These were the giants whose shoulders we stood on, along with the secret journals of Nikola Tesla. Our new formula challenged fundamental assumptions of spatial dimensionality, vacuum isotropy, and energy conservation, leaping from the standard models for ZPE. My team realized a new direction would require exotic materials to build a device to hold the plasma we planned to generate. Our material scientists suggested the new anal aluminum glass because of its resistance to heat and pressure, as well as allowing scientists to observe what was happening in the plasma vessel. Our chemists found that deuterium gas was preferred for the charged plasma generation, but it could prove unstable and dangerous in large volumes. We lost one fine young man because of that error. Our goal then was to reduce the instability of plasmas using a container shape and size that was safe for experimentation. Our solution was smaller clear pyramids designed using the 30-60-90 configurations suggested by Tesla. The energy source results discovered from numerous trials were assisted by predictive outcomes using the Cray supercomputers our benefactor provided access to at NCAR in Colorado. We created a new concept of radio frequency insertion using a Mobius coil antenna made of platinum/copper alloys which we installed into the pyramids. We activated ultra-high frequency, modulated, harmonic, rotational scalar waves through the antennas to form a plasma. However, instabilities in the deuterium gas resisted sustaining the effects. A specialist from India had a brilliant idea to use noble gases with deuterium. After substantial experiments, it was found that 5% argon not only reduced the explosive nature of deuterium, but somehow enhanced the plasma, so it produced an unexpected pulsing blue glow. However, other surprising effects suddenly appeared, especially when we put two smaller units close to each other's fields. Not only could two small units in unison produce exceptionally large energy fields, but these fields could be captured by transformers and then generated as direct electrical fields. This allowed for powering lighting, heating, and specialized motors our laboratory designed. The ratio of energy used to activate the plasma to the output was over 1000 to 1. We had made our amazing breakthrough. In 6 months we developed better test models with greater stability, production, and size. Our final 1-foot-tall model provided enough energy output to supply a small town, or even fly the largest cargo planes and spacecraft. However, using the smaller units for other experiments, we were stunned that when placed in a rotating sphere near each other, in a 3-point configuration, the devices displayed anti-gravity capacity. That was kept secret for a time as we realized the implications. The larger the pyramid, the greater the ability to move and float without restriction. The power generation breakthroughs were welcomed by our supporters as a new age for the world. He talked often of Nobel Prizes and honors until we finally revealed the anti-gravity properties. Communications went silent for several weeks. Then the officials in black suits with military guards arrived. Suddenly, we were held like hostages, with all communications to the outside world cut off. I don't know what happened to my glorious, brilliant team members. I found myself in Washington being forced to give closed-door testimony while blindfolded. To be blunt, I feared for my life. I returned to the lab to find the equipment and records missing. Everything was swept clean. They had no idea I had kept these other files secret, which I'm sharing with you. If something should happen to me or our laboratory site, follow my directions I gave you. Use the money I set aside for your escape. Tell no one where you are going or what you have until the time is right.
The recordings go no further. There is nothing at that site in the Sawtooth Mountains except a crater that the FAA claimed was caused by a military jet crash. What will happen now with this information open to the public is unknown, but I hope Dr. Adelson and his team did not die in vain after their stupendous achievements.